Hey guys, Brian and Jim here, and today we are going over Touchdown Fever, released in 1991 for the Nintendo Entertainment System. So we're getting to the end of our football retrospective here, and this one's a little different because it was developed by SNK. Now we're going to see them a lot in the future with later gen fighting games because of all their Street Fighter clones, but they did a number of sports games as well. So this was originally an arcade game and it was released in 1987, and actually it was a decently popular game. It was known for its rotating joystick. Of course, for a console, they had to convert it to use with the gamepad. Also, it was originally released in Japan as Touchdown Fever American Football, because God forbid they confuse it with soccer.
So right off the bat, I just want to issue a disclaimer. Jim enjoyed and scored this game much higher simply because he was better at it. And that really seems to be the case with Jim in most of the shitty games you play.
Not my fault, you suck!
Anyway, let's take a look at these graphics. Do they look familiar? Well, they should, because to us, they just look like a zoomed-in version of 10-Yard Fight. Apparently, a lot of people agree with that. I mean, that's really disappointing. For a game that came out in 1991, 6 years after the original 10-Yard Fight, this is the best they could do? I mean, for fuck's sake, they had Battletoads at this point. Take a look at this. Now that is what a game should look like. Anyway, you do get some variety in the team colors, and you get these interesting little halftime shows. Some of them make sense. You got a cow for Dallas, you have a bear for Detroit, and for some reason a robot for New York. Either way, I gave it a 3, Jim gave it a 5.
With the sound you get a mixed bag. Now we're going to talk about this a lot, but the intro is awesome. It's one of the best intros to a sports game I've ever heard, especially on an 8-bit system. And really, it's one of the best 8-bit songs. I really love it. The song in the game, you get one track and it just loops over and over. It's relatively short, it's maybe 15 seconds at the max. It's not bad, but it's all you get, so even the best songs you get sick of after a while. When it comes to the in-game sounds though, that's a bit different, because you don't get a lot. You get crowd noise, you get some beeps that are supposed to be the referee talking, but you don't get the important sounds. You don't get the sounds of passes, you don't get the sounds of tackles, you don't get the sounds of, even running plays, or just a guy running on the grass. It's really disappointing when it comes to that. You get sound for the kicks, but really, everything else is simple and barely worth it by 8-bit standards. It got low scores from the both of us, and neither of us could find any reason to give it more than a 2.
You've probably heard this a million times from people who review games. This is one of those games you have to play for yourself to really feel just how stiff and robotic these controls are. Now, we're not necessarily saying there's an issue with the response or there's a delay when you hit the button. No, when you hit the button, it does exactly what you want it to do. It's after you hit the button, all of a sudden the ball takes on a mind of its own. Watch these plays. You see, we seem to just be throwing them off to the side or behind us. We didn't do that on purpose, and we certainly didn't hit it in that direction. There's just something wrong with it, and it feels broken. We don't really know what to say. The other major issue is that once you do throw that ball, you have to line up your player, which seemed to be a theme at the time. But the problem is, your player feels like he's moving on ice. He slides all around, and it's really tough to get it pinpoint accurate. Overall, I gave it a 3. Jim gave it a 6. No idea why.
Ooh, the gameplay. Alright, let's talk about what this game offers when it comes to gameplay. For one, you get to 12 teams. But, unlike other games at the time, there's nothing different. All the teams play the exact same way. There's no player or team-specific stats, no team's better than the other. It's all the same. Now, you get a few options with this. You can get a player versus player mode, a player versus computer mode, a 2-player versus computer mode, or the tournament mode, which is basically the season. You can choose between 5, 10, and 15-minute quarters, and that's about it. Even in-game, you only get so few plays. You get a short play, you get a long play, and that goes for both runs and kicks. And the 5th set of plays is to special teams, which you're either going to get a field goal inside of 20 yards, it's automatic so there's no control there, or you're going to punt it away. It isn't doing a lot for you, but the absolute best part, and the only way you're going to find real fun with this game, is in the 2-player mode when you're with a buddy going against a computer. And the best part about it is, The game's so finicky and tricky as is, and you never know what's going to happen. So you can have a lot of fun going back and forth with your friend, trying to blame each other for whoever fucked up on a play. It's going to happen a lot, and that's where you're going to get the most fun. And if you can work together to actually score some points, it's going to make it all the better. So we gave it 5s, and the only reason it got a score even close to that is because of the 2-player mode. If it wasn't for that, it would have been 2s.
The originality. This should go real fast. To reiterate what Jim just said, this game doesn't offer a lot in terms of plays, team differences, no real new modes. The 2 things that we noticed that are actually stand out is, 1, this football game actually seems to make a field feel like it's 3 times larger than it really is. You're running 20-yard plays and it takes you 30, 40 seconds as compared to Tecmo Bowl, it could take you like 3 or 4 seconds. And the only other reason this game didn't get a 1 for originality is this game offered you the 2-point conversion. And this is before it was an actual rule in the NFL. So take that, Pete Rozelle. We gave it 3s.
When it comes to replayability, well, we're just going to get the score out of the way right now. We gave it 5s. And we gave it 5s because that's the lowest we can really give a sports game. You can replay it as much as you want, because it's always going to be different. But the lack of options in the game, the fact that playing as different teams doesn't make a difference except for the halftime show, it just adds nothing to it. So if it was any other category or any other genre of game, it would have gotten a 1.
Overall, there's not a whole lot to say about this game. It's a below-average football game for its time. It offered very little in variety, but that 2-player versus computer mode is the only reason it got a 4.5 out of us. Now, as always, I unfortunately do have to show you a montage. It's not something I want to show you a montage of, but I'll show it anyway. It's Jim pulling some bullshit, getting some interceptions. But to get back at him, it's going to be to the sound of Tarzan Boy.
God damn it.
Ha!
Fine, I'll still hear
While playing this game, we enjoyed some very delicious pumpkin. And remember to drink your beers and play your games responsibly.
Took you long enough.
Fuck yourself.